Welcome to this deep dive. We're all familiar with that inner whirlwind, aren't we? Those thoughts and feelings that can feel overwhelming, persistent, like uninvited guests in our minds.
It is the nature of the human mind, to generate this constant stream, thoughts, emotions,
Hmm.
experiencing unease. Well, it's part of being alive.
Exactly. And today we're going to explore a different way of relating to that inner discomfort, that pain. What if we could actually shift our perspective, maybe even find something valuable within it?
hmm
Our exploration today draws from the deep well of Buddhist philosophy.
A tradition that for centuries has offered pathways, really, to understanding the mind and cultivating inner peace amidst the storms of life.
So, what's our path today? First, we're going to really look closely at these negative thoughts, what they are, how they affect us, the kind of hold they can have.
Understanding the roots, yes.
Mm.
The roots of what troubles us, that's such a crucial step towards finding a sense of ease.
Then we'll consider a concept that might sound a little strange at first: emptiness. But not in a bleak, desolate sense, more as a key, maybe, to unlocking a greater sense of freedom.
The understanding of shunyata. It offers such a profound perspective on the way we perceive reality and, well, our place within it.
From there, we'll get down to earth. We'll talk about practical ways you can work with those challenging thoughts and feelings.
Right.
We'll look at mindfulness, how we can maybe question the stories we tell ourselves, and the real power of gratitude and compassion.
These are not merely abstract ideas, they are tools, really. Tools that, when practiced, can reshape our experience of the world and our inner lives, too.
And because our understanding evolves, we'll also touch on how this ancient wisdom resonates with what modern neuroscience is discovering about our brains. It's quite fascinating, isn't it? How these two seemingly different fields can align.
Indeed. It suggests a deeper, perhaps universal truth about the nature of the mind and the potential for transformation.
We'll also be looking at how learning to accept the inevitable difficulties that come with life and the act of letting go, how that can lead to profound change.
It is often in meeting our pain with acceptance, rather than resistance, that we discover our greatest capacity for growth.
And finally, we'll think about the role that compassionate action, both towards ourselves and others, plays in this whole process.
Compassion is not just a passive feeling, you see. It is an active force that can dismantle negativity and build bridges of connection.
Okay, let's really get into this. When we talk about negative thoughts, one of the images that comes up is the mind as a mirror covered in dust. What does that suggest to you?
Ah, the mirror.
In its essence, it's clear, isn't it? Capable of reflecting reality just as it is. But when it's obscured by dust, those negative thoughts, those judgments, well, our perception becomes clouded. We see a distorted image, not the true reflection.
Exactly. It's like we're constantly trying to make sense of ourselves and the world through this hazy film. And I've also heard the idea of the mind as water.
Mm-hmm.
When it's still, it reflects everything perfectly. But when it's stirred up by anger or worry, the surface becomes choppy. The reflection is distorted. Yes, the agitation of the water mirrors the turbulence of negative thoughts and emotions.
Wait.
They disturb our inner stillness, prevent us from seeing clearly. But these thoughts, these feelings, they aren't inherently problematic. They're just part of the human experience.
Oh, okay.
The challenge arises when we become identified with them. When we believe they define us.
That's such a key point. It's not about the thoughts being inherently bad. It's more about our relationship to them.
Precisely.
And to illustrate this, there's a story about the monk Ajahn Chah. He was meditating, and he got really frustrated by the sounds of monkeys nearby. What was the insight he gained from that?
Ah, Ajahn Chah. His realization was profound. The disturbance wasn't the external noise, the monkeys. It was his own internal reaction to it.
Ah.
Just as the forest is filled with sounds, our minds are often filled with this constant chatter, aren't they? Thoughts flitting from one thing to another, like monkeys.
And those thoughts can feel so insistent, can't they? Like they're demanding all our attention, pulling us away from the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
But what Ajahn Chah realized is that we don't have to be controlled by them.
Exactly. We have the capacity to observe these mental events without getting swept away by their current.
Now, if you're listening, just take a moment to think about your own experience. Have you ever found yourself caught in a loop, replaying a past mistake endlessly?
A common pattern.
Or maybe spending countless hours worrying about something that might never even happen? Those mental loops, that worrying, it's like those monkeys, isn't it?
Yes.
They just keep chattering, demanding our attention, dragging us away from the here and now. And the more we resist sometimes, the stronger they seem to become. It can be so exhausting.
It is a very common human experience. That tendency to ruminate on the past or project into the future, it can significantly erode our peace in the present moment.
But there is another way. Instead of trying to suppress or ignore these thoughts, what if we could learn to simply watch them without judgment? There's a practice called vipassana, or insight meditation.
Ah, yes. Vipassana.
What's at the heart of this practice?
Vipassana is the practice of observing our thoughts, feelings, bodily sensations as they arise and fade away, without getting entangled in their content.
Okay.
It's about cultivating a non-reactive awareness, simply noticing what is present in our experience, both internal and external.
It's like becoming a neutral observer of your own mind. There's that helpful image, imagine standing on a busy street corner watching cars drive by.
Yes, some cars will be flashy, grab your attention, others more ordinary. Some might be loud, insistent with their horns.
All right.
But you know that eventually, every single car will pass. You don't jump into every car, do you? Nor do you try to stop them. You simply observe their movement.
And it's the same with our thoughts, isn't it? When we stop clinging to them or trying to push them away, they lose some of their power.
They do.
They arise, they linger for a while, and then they simply pass.
Exactly. Their very nature is impermanent. They are not fixed entities. Recognizing this inherent transience, that's a key insight.
To really illustrate the impact, let's think about someone like Sarah, a young professional constantly battling this inner critic, this voice telling her she wasn't good enough, that everyone else is more capable. How did those thoughts affect her?
Well, over time, this persistent negative self-talk, it chipped away at Sarah's self-belief, didn't it? Leaving her feeling drained, inadequate. It's a very common experience where these internal narratives profoundly shape our sense of self-worth, our overall well-being.
It's something so many of us can relate to. And this kind of constant negativity isn't just a bad mood. It can actually lead to real stress and anxiety, even physical symptoms.
The connection between chronic negative thinking and various mental and physical health challenges is well established now.
But here's the essential first step: awareness. Simply noticing when these negative thoughts are present, without immediately judging them or getting carried away by their story.
Yes.
It's like stepping back from that dusty mirror and just observing the dust without immediately trying to wipe it away.
That initial act of recognition, of acknowledging a negative thought without immediate reaction, it's remarkably powerful. It creates a space, you see.
Yeah.
A space between the thought and our identification with it.
And going back to the mirror, the invitation is to approach these negative thoughts with a sense of patience and curiosity, almost like we're trying to understand them better. Asking ourselves, where did this thought come from? What seems to trigger it?
Approaching our inner world with curiosity rather than judgment can be transformative.
Yeah.
Allows us to explore the origins of our thoughts and potentially lessen their grip on us.
Now, it's acknowledged that facing these inner demons can be uncomfortable. It can be truly challenging.
Yes, it can.
But the potential reward is this dawning sense of clarity.
Confronting these ingrained patterns can indeed be difficult, but it is in that very encounter, approached with mindful awareness, that the possibility for genuine insight and liberation lies.
So as we pause here, maybe just consider for a moment. How often do you find yourself letting negative thoughts dictate your feelings and actions? And perhaps, are you willing to take that initial step towards simply becoming aware of them?
That first step of mindful awareness,
Yeah.
it can be the beginning of a profound shift in your relationship with your own mind.
Okay, we've looked at the nature of negative thoughts, this mirror covered in dust. Now, let's explore a concept that might feel a bit more abstract: embracing the void.
Nice.
We'll be looking at shunyata, or emptiness, as a path towards mental clarity and transformation. Now, when people hear emptiness, they might think of nothingness. But that's not really what it signifies here, is it?
No, not at all. Shunyata is a subtle and often misunderstood idea.
Yeah.
It does not imply a state of absolute nothingness like a vacuum. Rather, it points to the understanding that all phenomena, including our thoughts and emotions, lack inherent independent existence.
Okay, lack inherent existence. What does that mean in practice?
It means everything arises in dependence upon other factors.
Yeah.
Everything is interconnected and constantly changing. Nothing is fixed or permanent.
So it's about recognizing that nothing, including our thoughts and feelings, has this fixed, unchanging essence. They are more like processes, always in motion.
Precisely. And when we fail to recognize this impermanence, and we cling to our thoughts and emotions as if they were solid and definitive, well, that is where suffering arises.
Hmm.
We create rigid labels like, I am anxious, or I am a failure, solidifying these fleeting experiences into fixed identities.
Right. It's like we grab onto a wave in the ocean and try to hold onto it, even though the water is constantly moving. And that struggle, that clinging, is what creates the unease.
Exactly. But when we begin to grasp this principle of emptiness, we start to loosen that grip. We see our thoughts and emotions as temporary visitors, not as permanent residents or defining characteristics.
That sounds incredibly liberating.
It is. This understanding allows us to experience a greater sense of freedom from their control. By recognizing the lack of inherent self in these experiences, we diminish their power to define and confine us.
It's like realizing you're not actually fused to the thought. You can observe it and let it drift away. There's a story about a Zen master, Hakuin, that illustrates this.
Akuin. Yes. He was once falsely accused of fathering a child. The villagers turned against him, yet his response was simply, "Is that so?"
Is that so?
Just that. He accepted the situation without defensiveness or anger. He cared for the child despite the hardship and ridicule. Years later, when the truth was revealed and the villagers apologized, his response was again, "Is that so?"
That's remarkable. There's such a sense of profound acceptance in that response. It wasn't indifference, was it?
No, not indifference. It was more about recognizing the transient nature of both the accusation and the eventual apology. His response wasn't apathy, but a deep acceptance of the impermanent and unpredictable nature of life's events. He didn't cling to resentment or the need for vindication. He demonstrated the inner strength that comes from non-attachment to fleeting circumstances and opinions.
And this isn't about being passive or just not caring. It's actually about cultivating a deep inner strength, this resilience that comes from not being so rigidly attached to how we think things should be.
Yes. By releasing the need to control every outcome and clinging to specific identities or narratives about ourselves, we actually open ourselves to greater peace and the ability to navigate life's challenges with more equanimity.
To bring this into a more relatable context, there's an example of an entrepreneur named John whose business unexpectedly failed. He started to feel a lot of self-doubt with thoughts like, I'm a failure, I'll never succeed again. How could this principle of emptiness help him reframe that situation?
Well, by understanding emptiness, John could begin to see his business failure not as a fixed inherent flaw within himself, but as a temporary event arising from various changing conditions. He could recognize that the thought, I am a failure, is just that, a thought, a passing mental event, not an eternal truth about his worth or future potential.
So it creates distance.
Yes, it creates a space for him to see new possibilities. It prevents him from being completely defined and limited by this one experience.
So how do we actually begin to apply this understanding in our daily lives? There are a few practical steps that come to mind. One is the practice of mindfulness meditation. We touched on this earlier.
Yes, vipassana.
Can you elaborate on how this practice connects with this idea of emptiness?
Mindfulness meditation is a direct way to experience the impermanent nature of our thoughts and emotions. As we gently focus on our breath and observe thoughts and feelings arising and passing without judgment.
Like the cars driving by.
Exactly. We begin to see them as separate from our core self, like clouds drifting across the sky. We are not getting carried away by the story of each cloud. We are simply noticing its presence and movement. This cultivates a sense of detachment and allows us to experience the empty, transient nature of our mental content. By observing without judgment, we see that these experiences arise and cease without any inherent lasting self.
And there's compelling evidence suggesting real benefits from this practice, isn't there? Studies showing changes in the brain.
Indeed. Consistent mindfulness practice has been shown to have tangible effects on the brain, supporting emotional regulation and a greater sense of calm. Even short periods of daily practice, maybe 10 minutes, can begin to shift our habitual patterns of reactivity.
Another helpful approach is to actively challenge our inner narratives. We often tell ourselves stories, and these stories can be quite negative.
Yes, the mind is a storyteller.
What's a way to begin questioning these narratives?
Well, our minds are constantly interpreting events and creating narratives, and these often carry a negative bias, don't they?
You definitely can.
So a helpful exercise is to bring awareness to a specific negative thought. Perhaps write it down. Then we can gently question its validity.
How so? Like what kind of questions?
We can ask ourselves, is this thought based on solid evidence? Or is it fueled by assumptions or past experiences? What are the actual facts and what are my interpretations? By examining these narratives critically, we can begin to see them as constructed stories, not necessarily as absolute truths.
So it's about moving from just accepting these thoughts as facts to actually investigating them,
Oh,
almost like a detective looking for clues.
yes,
And
exactly.
then, importantly, reframing them based on evidence.
Precisely. Instead of being consumed by a thought like, I'm not good enough, we can look for evidence that contradicts this belief and reframe it in a more balanced and realistic way. This process weakens the hold of negative thought patterns. It's similar to approaches used in things like cognitive behavioral therapy, actually.
Right. And a third powerful practice is cultivating gratitude and compassion. How do these act as antidotes to negativity and help us experience this sense of, well, emptiness or maybe interconnectedness?
Gratitude shifts our focus. It moves us from what we perceive as lacking to appreciating what is present in our lives. It counters the mind's tendency to dwell on the negative.
So it changes the channel in a way.
In a way, yes.
Hmm.
By regularly acknowledging the good, even in small things, we cultivate a more positive and open perspective and compassion, both for ourselves and others. It directly opposes feelings of negativity, judgment, and isolation.
How does compassion do that?
When we extend kindness and understanding, we recognize our shared humanity. We dissolve the rigid boundaries of self and other. These practices help us to see the interconnectedness of all things and the impermanent nature of both positive and negative experiences.
It's fascinating how these ancient insights often align with modern understanding of the mind. The idea of our brains being able to change neuroplasticity seems particularly relevant here.
Indeed, neuroplasticity highlights the brain's remarkable ability to adapt and rewire itself based on our experiences and repeated thoughts.
So our thoughts can literally change our brain structure.
Over time, yes. Just as practicing a musical instrument strengthens certain neural pathways, consistently engaging in mindfulness, gratitude, and compassion can strengthen the neural pathways associated with well-being. It can actually reduce the dominance of negative patterns.
So we're actively shaping our brains.
Yes, by intentionally cultivating these positive states, we are actively shaping our brains towards greater resilience and peace. There's work by neuroscientists like Dr. Rick Hansen talking about taking in the good, really savoring positive experiences for, say, 20 seconds or more to help them stick.
Ah, interesting. So it's not just noticing the good, but really letting it sink in.
Exactly. It helps build up those positive neural structures. It connects beautifully with Buddhist practices like metta bhavana, loving kindness meditation.
Right, loving kindness. What are the effects of that practice?
It's shown to increase positive emotions like joy, reduce aggression, and improve our relationships. It actively cultivates that compassionate connection.
So, bringing it back to Sarah, our young professional battling her inner critic, how might she have used these ideas? Mindfulness, questioning negative beliefs, gratitude.
Well, Sarah, by practicing mindfulness, would have started to notice that critical voice without immediately believing it or getting swept away.
Creating that space again.
Precisely. Then, maybe by journaling, examining the evidence for and against those negative beliefs like I'm not good enough, she could have started to dismantle their power.
Seeing them as stories, not facts.
Exactly. And by intentionally focusing on moments of gratitude, maybe things she did well or people who support her, and extending kindness towards herself, especially when she stumbled.
Self-compassion.
Yes, self-compassion. She would have gradually cultivated a more positive and resilient inner dialogue, shifting from self-criticism toward self-acceptance.
It sounds like a holistic approach, working on different levels to create real and lasting change. Okay, so we've explored the nature of negative thoughts and the path to greater clarity through this understanding of emptiness and practical techniques. Now, let's delve into what could be called the alchemy of transformation, turning shadows into light. This sounds quite profound.
It is a powerful way to think about the potential within us, isn't it? The potential to transform our suffering, our negativity, into something meaningful, something illuminating. It suggests that the challenging aspects of our experience aren't just obstacles to overcome.
But something else.
They can become sources of wisdom and growth.
The image of a dense forest at dawn comes to mind. The darkness isn't seen as something to be feared or fought against, but as the canvas upon which the light gradually appears, revealing the beauty of the forest.
A beautiful image.
How does this relate to transforming negative thoughts?
Just as the dawnlight doesn't eradicate the forest, but rather reveals its contours and details, our awareness doesn't eliminate negative thoughts entirely. Instead, it allows us to see them in a new light, to understand their nature, their impermanence. The darkness of negativity can become the backdrop against which the light of insight and compassion shines more brightly. It's about recognizing that both shadow and light are integral parts of our experience.
This connects with the Buddhist understanding of dukkha, or suffering, doesn't it? It's described not necessarily as something to avoid at all costs, but as an inherent part of existence. But the key seems to be in how we relate to it.
Indeed. Dukkha in Buddhism points to the inherent unsatisfactoriness or perhaps stress of life, arising from our attachment to what is impermanent and our resistance to change. However, the teaching emphasizes that while experiencing pain is inevitable,
Right.
the suffering, the emotional anguish we add to that pain through our clinging and resistance is often optional, or at least can be lessened.
That phrase, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional, is so powerful. It highlights that while we can't always avoid difficult experiences, we do have a degree of freedom in how we respond.
Exactly. We have freedom in whether we allow them to lead to prolonged suffering. It is our resistance to pain, our clinging to how things should be, and the stories we construct around our difficulties that often amplify our suffering.
To illustrate this potential for profound transformation, there's the story of Milarepa. What's his journey? How does it exemplify this turning of suffering into something positive?
Milarepa. His life is a powerful testament to this transformative power. After experiencing great loss, he engaged in acts of revenge, fueled by intense anger and grief. He was consumed by guilt and despair.
So, a very dark place.
A very dark place. However, instead of succumbing to this darkness, he embarked on an arduous spiritual path. He faced immense challenges through dedicated meditation and practice under his teacher.
And the suffering itself became part of the path.
His profound suffering became the very fuel for his spiritual awakening. It led to the development of boundless compassion. He is revered not despite his difficult past, but because his journey demonstrates the extraordinary potential for even the deepest pain to be transformed into wisdom and compassion.
So it's about recognizing that within each challenging thought, each moment of pain, there's this potential for learning, for growth, for a deeper understanding.
Yes. These difficult experiences can serve as profound teachers, revealing our inner strength, our capacity for resilience, and again, the interconnectedness of all things.
There are a few transformative practices that come to mind here. One is the art of letting go. Now, letting go can feel incredibly difficult. What does it truly mean in this context? Is it just forgetting?
Letting go is not about suppressing or denying our emotions or forgetting. It's more about releasing our attachment to them.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that clinging to painful experiences like holding onto a burning coal only intensifies our own suffering. The act of letting go involves acknowledging what we are holding onto and consciously choosing to release that grip, trusting in our ability to navigate what comes next.
There's a visualization sometimes used, isn't there? Like placing a heavy burden down on the ground?
Yes, that can be helpful. Visualizing placing the burden down, perhaps even saying inwardly, I release this. It's a conscious act of releasing the hold that these thoughts and feelings have on us, creating space for something new.
Another powerful idea is reframing negativity as fuel, instead of seeing negative thoughts as purely detrimental.
Seeing them as something that can actually propel us forward. Yes.
How does that work?
It involves a shift in perspective. Instead of viewing negative thoughts as enemies or obstacles, we can begin to see them as sources of valuable information, maybe even motivation for growth.
How so?
When a negative thought arises, we can ask ourselves, what is this trying to tell me? What unmet need or fear does it point to? What changes might be necessary in my life? By viewing these thoughts as signals, we can potentially harness their energy for positive change.
So it's about finding the lesson, the opportunity for learning and development, even within those uncomfortable feelings, turning what feels like a setback into a chance to become stronger or wiser.
Precisely. Perhaps keeping a kind of growth journal, noting challenges and what was learned from them.
And finally, there's the practice of embodying compassionate action. We touched on compassion earlier. How does actively engaging in compassionate acts contribute to this transformation?
Compassionate action, or karud, is deeply intertwined with wisdom, or praja. When we extend kindness and care to others, especially when they are suffering, we shift our focus away from our own self-absorption.
Which often fuels negativity, right?
Exactly. Engaging in acts of generosity and service, no matter how small, even just a kind word creates a sense of connection, purpose, and even joy. It naturally counteracts feelings of isolation and despair. It reminds us of our shared humanity and helps to break down the barriers that negativity can build.
It's like by reaching out and connecting with others in a positive way, we're not only maybe alleviating their suffering, but also transforming our own inner landscape. There's research on that too, isn't there? About how helping others activates reward centers in the brain.
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
It affirms this deep connection between our well-being and the well-being of others.
I recall a story, maybe about someone named Emma, who faced significant hardship, job loss, despair, but found a path forward through these very principles.
Yes, stories like Emma's illustrate this beautifully.
Yeah.
Someone facing job loss, perhaps falling into despair. But then, maybe through practicing mindfulness, they start to observe the despair without being totally consumed by it.
Okay.
By reframing negative thoughts, I'm useless, they might start exploring what they truly value. Maybe they pursue a long-held passion, even in a small way.
Right.
Perhaps they start volunteering, connecting with others, finding purpose outside their own situation. That combination, mindfulness, reframing, compassionate action, can lead to profound transformation, turning adversity into a catalyst for a more meaningful life.
It truly highlights the interconnectedness, doesn't it? Our inner world and our actions in the outer world. It's not just contained within us.
Exactly. There's a ripple effect. This connects to the Buddhist teaching of interdependence. Our inner changes influence the world around us. Our positive actions, however small, create waves of goodwill. They can inspire others.
So as we draw this deep dive to a close, what are some final reflections you'd like to offer?
Well, I encourage everyone listening to perhaps take some time to reflect on what we've explored today. Consider how these insights might resonate with your own journey. And remember that true transformation is usually a gradual unfolding, a process of consistent intention and gentle effort.
And to really encourage that personal reflection, here are maybe a few final questions to hold in your awareness. Are you willing to meet your own inner shadows with honesty and a spirit of kindness? Can you begin to see the challenges you face not just as obstacles, but as potential pathways for growth and understanding?
Yeah.
And how might you use your own experiences of struggle, perhaps, to cultivate greater empathy and a desire to be of service to others?
Within each of you lies a deep wellspring of inner strength, wisdom, and resilience. Every small step you take towards cultivating awareness, understanding, and compassion, it moves you closer to a life lived with greater peace and fulfillment.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope it's offered you some new perspectives and perhaps a gentle encouragement on your own path. Until our next exploration together.